Um, well, I got into art in high school. My senior year of high school, we had to write some poems for a English class. Wrote 3 poems at the last minute, the day before they were supposed to be turned them in, and the day after we turned them in as a homework assignment. Walking into class, my English teacher pulled me to the side, to her desk, and she says, how often do you write poetry? And I said, I don't. I just did it for this class and for the homework. And she said, well, you should continue writing poetry because the pieces that you wrote were phenomenal and blew me away. And she was someone who took literature very seriously. She had Hamlet tattoos and a Shakespeare tattoo on her neck, so she was very serious about literature. And so I let my older brother hear them, and he agreed that they were great and I should continue writing. And in a few months of doing that, really enjoying the freedom it gave me to express myself and to deal with the things that had happened in my family, my older brother suggested that I try rapping. So I decided to do that, gave that a try, met some producers, and been doing it ever since. Wow. At this point, it really consumes my life. Like every moment of my day is geared towards a project that I'm working on or a project that I'm helping someone else. And as far as my personality, it's taught me that I can be who I want to be and who I am without compromise and without fear of what someone is going to think about me. Art allowed me to do that. Alan Watts, Mos Def, Erykah Badu, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is probably my biggest inspiration. That's a beautiful question. Well, right now I've been working on a curriculum which allows me to go into group homes, detention centers, schools, and the curriculum is based off teaching the history of hip hop, where it comes from, who started it, when they started it, and why they started it, and using hip hop as a tool to get the youth interested in reading and writing. Oh man, I've had the opportunity to perform in front of Magic Johnson. I've had the opportunity to perform at the Democratic Convention in Tampa in 2012. But more importantly than those things, I think is when you start to focus on something, when you start to put your mind and start to wrap your mind, like that sign, like this piece here really stuck with me. It always happens when I'm in motion. And that's real, because once you start to focus on something, no matter what it is, when I was growing up and I was really focused on basketball, I knew all the best basketball players in the city. And I was friends with the best basketball players in the city because that's what I was focused on. And now that I've been focused on art the last 3-4 years, seriously, I find myself being surrounded by the best artists in the city of Miami. So that opportunity, being able to look at people I admire from afar and say, wow, this person is a really great performer, this person's a great writer, this person's a great singer, but the opportunity to be able to sit down with them at dinner and have conversations and find out about their life and being able to sharpen each other as artists and as well as people is probably the best opportunity that art has afforded me. Oh man, I love the process. I love sitting in the studio and being stressed out about a song, and I love when I finally get it and I'm like, okay, yes, this is the line I've been searching for. This is the delivery I've been searching for. This is the performance I've been searching for in the recording. I love that aspect just as much as I love sharing it with people. But to me, the process is probably the most stressful, beautiful part, you know. That's a very interesting question. That's a very interesting question. I would have to say a black artist, and reasons for understanding what that means now to be black, or to be an African, or to be indigenous. I think those terms referring to our people need to be expressed, because you're going to be called those things anyway. So understanding what they mean and defining what they mean for you is important, because it's like, like OJ, like Jay-Z has the line in his new album, like, OJ, like, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay? You're still gonna get treated like you black. So to define that for yourself and to stand in that strength, because for so long we've been taught that it was so many things that it's not actually. Or we've been taught it was so many things, and now we see our people walking into those things that we were told it was, you know what I mean? So in the 40s and 50s, you have propaganda campaigns spewing and, trying to destroy the image of black people and referring to them as thugs and referring to them as animals and savages and so on and so forth. And we've shown through our history that that's not who we are. But now we have young people who are trying to fit that mold, So I think defining what black is and using that as a term is very, very important as a people. Like, even I'm a part of a collective called the Black Family, and the whole thing is really about manifesting and coming together as black people to build a better community under that title. Man, creativity to me is someone who is able to take a concept that everybody is familiar with and have you look at it in a number of different ways. So I like to write in metaphors personally, just so on the surface it looks as one thing, and then if you look at it on another level, you'll see something else, and then if you look at it on a deeper level, you'll see something else. So I like to write like that, and I like to create music in that type of a format. So creativity to me is being able to do that. Like Lupe Fiasco is one who's a great MC. He has a song called "The Cool" off his first album, and it's a song about a brother about a brother coming back to life who's already buried in a casket, and he's painting a picture of this gentleman waking up as a skeleton, kicking his casket open, clawing his way out of the dirt, out of the the grave that he's been put in, and having the liquor floating down on his casket that his homies have poured on him, and in love, and all of these different things, and him getting back on the train, and him being a corpse, and people looking at him crazy, and he smells bad, and then he goes right back to the neighborhood right back to the exact spot where he was selling drugs and got killed the first time, and he goes right back to that same spot, and then now some younger kids who are now on that block selling drugs don't recognize him, and they're like, well, what are you doing here? And then they kill him again. And then listening to that song, the poetry is phenomenal, and that's the picture that he's able to paint is beautiful, but the underlining message is, if you're not familiar with anything other than your block, if you happen to go to jail, or if you happen to leave your community, if you haven't been open to these types of things in these palettes, you're gonna just return right back to it, and it's gonna be a detriment to you if it's not of anything good. And that's creativity to me, being able to take a concept of somebody not having any understanding outside of their neighborhood, and now they're dead, and then they come back to life and go right back to that. Like, that's creativity to me. My favorite TV show. My favorite TV show of all time or right now? Oh, that's so different. Favorite TV show. I would have to say X-Men, the cartoon, because there's so many people involved with the cartoon, and there's so many characters, and they all have their own background as to where they come from, how they grew up dealing with the mutant powers they had, and how they all come together as a team to try to better the world. And it's also, to me, it also reflects on the history of black people in this country, where you have two different classes of people living side by side. We have one class of people, the mutants, who have these powers and who are different, who just want to live and They just want to live life, and they just want to go to school and have families and be loved and create. And then you have another class of people who are projecting their fears of what these mutants are onto the mutants. And they're causing the mutants to live a very, very harmful, hurtful, depressed life. And then it causes the mutants to stand up and start to fight and to protect themselves. And even within the mutants, it's split among one leader of the mutants, Professor X, saying, we should be very, very loving of our enemies, and we should only, we should continue to love and just practice our beliefs in private. And then you have Magneto, who's saying, no, we should be free to be who we are out in the open at all times whenever we need to, and we should be able to protect ourselves when we're being, treated unfairly. So I think X-Men to me was always a great cartoon growing up, and I just like the graphics of it and the fact that these people had powers and they were doing cool stuff. It wasn't until I got older watching it like, oh, this sounds a lot like the Civil Rights Movement. I would say maybe 2012, 2013, I was in a collective and we were performing on stage, and in the middle of a show, we're rocking, the crowd is rocking with us, and the whole building is lit, and it was somebody else's turn on the mic. One of my sisters, she's on the microphone doing her thing, and I just looked to the side and I saw her doing her thing, and then I looked to the left and I saw, another one of my sisters and one of my brothers doing their thing, and I looked behind me and, another brother of mine is on the drums, and I just started crying on stage because it was like, wow, this is something I wrote down on a piece of paper 5 years ago, and now I'm actually living what I said I wanted. So I think that was probably as up to this date, the highlight of my career. Just knowing that you can manifest what you want if you let it be known what you want, and then walk into that future. I actually have a line about that in the song I just wrote. I said, I send messages to my younger self all the time. Like, you're a black light in the dark, nigga. No matter what you do, just do it from the heart, nigga. You smart, nigga. Tongue sharp, nigga. You could say the word blade and split a nigga into parts, nigga. See, they fear your mind, because every thought you have will be revered in time. Now just imagine if you shined, you could heal the blind with thoughts of the ancients and the language of rhyme. If it's a matter of design, my bloodline is divine. Nas said it was written, so I'm trying to read every line. I think that's what I was saying to my younger self. Like, just be confident and know that you're smart, and be confident and know that your words and your tongue holds weight, and what you have to say is meaningful, regardless if people are ready to receive it or not. And also be smart enough to read what has already been written. Sometimes I think we try to explain things that somebody's already said. You might not have to say anything. You just point to it. It's already there.